Hello, I am Alex Hyper on Experience. I wanted to shoot a little video about remixing Awesome Three's Don't Go, an absolute classic tune. So the problem or the opportunity you face when remixing classics is that if you deviate too much from what they did originally, it might not be as good, and that's unacceptable. Now, the way to sort of really what these remixes need is to be brought up to date, because the modern standards of mixing and mastering and stuff like that is like 3 decades ahead of what they were doing back then. I mean, they got it right, don't get me wrong, but the actual old school music struggles to be played alongside the new school, because the new school's just so modern sounding and the old stuff sort of lacks a bit of that. So bring it up to date. So you've got to remix this tune. What I do is I start and I use something called the foul play technique. A long time ago, I used to do sort of in-house engineering for Moving Shadow as well as other people, and they set up foul play to do a remix of, I think it was Omni Trio, Renegade Step, or no, Music Steppers or something like that. And John Morrow had the record, and he put the needle on the record, and the first 8 or 16 bars were an amen snare being played in the melody. And he went, Al, do an amen snare in the melody, but do something different, like add a phaser. And so I did that. And then he went to the next part, and the kick and the snare came. And he go, all right, put a kick and a snare in now, but change the step. And so that's what he did. He went through the record and just copied it. And I thought that was genius. It solved a lot of problems, such as a lot of creative ideas. I mean, the arrangement's already been done. And he did that. So now I use that. And here is the original tune, which I've colour-coded. And so I can kind of understand what's going on. The blue thing is the synth intro, the green stuff's synth and bass, but I'll just play it. So the tune starts with that iconic intro. Now, I could have started with that, but I thought, I've got another opportunity to do something. And the next thing that happens is a beat and the synth. You can see that repeats there and there. And then you've got breakdown to a piano. And then the vocal comes in with the piano. I cannot bear to see you. It happens again with a slightly different vocal. And though you tell me that you love me sometimes. And then we're into the synth. Synth with the piano. So there you go. You've got synth and beat, piano, vocal, piano and beat, and then synth. That's the whole tune pretty much. Just those bits there. And then we're back into the piano. I cannot bear to see you. Which is a repeat of this, but with the drums in it. So really, up until there, that's all the originality of this tune. The absolute classics. I mean, that piano, that synth, that beat, that vocal, brilliant. Never going to be beaten. So, what do you do? Well, I experimented an awful lot with the synthesizer and like trying to change the patterns and all stuff like that. And it simply didn't work. The more I went away from the original pattern, the less good it sounded, and you can't be good. So, I just copied the pattern. However, I did feel I had scope to expand on what the piano did, because the piano just does the same riff all the way through it, which was way beyond my talent. So what I did is I got a pianist in, a guy called Glenn Butcher, which hopefully if I do this, here he is. So we set up, this is my upright piano. It's what they call a double iron framed cross strung, and it's a Mornington and Western from about 1964-ish. And I've got 2 microphones here. These are Microtech Gefell M200s. They're small diaphragm condensers. And in the middle, I've got a really old, rubbishy, sort of 50-year-old dynamic mic. And I'll go through those sounds. So we've recorded the one above, the Sony C800G. That wasn't used. And there's Glenn there, concentrating very hard. We took off the front board to try and get a bit of air, so I had more scope, but we ended up just using the back mics. And actually, it took... The session was about 4 hours, but about 2.5 hours was placing these mics to get the sound. I don't know if you know, but when it comes to recording, the sound you get, the sound comes from the musician. That's full stop. And then the instrument that they're using, and then the room that they put it in. And only then does the technology come involved in the microphone. This is a standard series of steps that in recording industry that we use. It goes like this: the player, the kit, the room, the mic. That's your sound. So we set that up. That took 2.5 hours, and poor Glenn was playing the same riff, but we did it, and that's the sound. And I'll go through that. I will just jump. Now I'm talking about that. Jump to the piano, which is here. So you can see it says piano L, piano right, and piano over. Well, it's actually behind. I'll just solo the two little condenser mics that you see. They were splayed out slightly. So that's him playing that piano. And here's that mic that was in the middle. Really crusty, isn't it? And so you mix them all together. Take that out. So I can balance the sound and how much I want. And if you see along here as the piano changes, all these colours, this one's called Chicago High, Chicago Low. Should I talk about that? Might as well. No, let's go back to the intro. So what could I do? What could I do with the intro? And I felt the the only thing I could really do would be to expand on that piano. And I said to Glenn, we're going to, in the scale of whatever those chords were, I don't know, he knew. I said, I want you to go run up the piano. I said, nothing is too flamboyant. Bring out your full Liberace. Let's get on with this. So he did that, which is beautiful. Because it's such a attention-grabbing original synth line, I felt the only way I could really compete with that in some way was to have this incredible intro of just floating piano sounds. So that would, imagine, I don't know if you were there back in the day, but you had 30,000 watts and 10,000 people. And that would grab your attention. Then we did this bit, which was just... There's 3 chords out of the 4 played at different sort of velocities, but on the real piano. It's just trying to set the pace. So that's bridging from that intro to the drop. Yeah, I was pretty happy with how that came out. And you can see the waveform showing you that. So if you remember, originally in the original mix it had some sort of intro, which then dropped to eventually the piano. So that's my piano dropped, I bypassed that. And you're into the beat. Beat and piano, what they had down here, it was beat and synth, so it's a variation. And the vocal comes in. Let's play around. I did do something quite fancy with that. You can see on there's some controller information. What it is, I took the vocal and I modulated the loop point as it went along. If I solo that, you'll be able to see it. I cannot bear to That's a sweet little trick. Where have I got? Controller 41, loop position. And so yeah, I'm using a little controller and I'm modulating that, and then I put that in there. That is a sweet little trick. That worked very well. Obviously, I've got some sort of crossfade overlap going on there. What's this one here? Oh, this is a little piano layer. So he's going around the scale over the top of these pianos here as that goes along. Glenn's really good. He's really good at that. You can just say, can you do something like that? What else we got here? Cheeky little string. Nothing strange about that. Contact sound, all very good. And we have octave followers. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to do with that piano, I thought, well, when you think about what was happening in the late 80s, early 90s when this tune came out, it was the crossover from the Chicago house sound. And I said, yeah, can you take those riffs and make them a little bit more Chicago house and dun 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 dun, that sort of stuff? And he did. So we get this now. Really nice, really nice. And then we just go down an octave. And the reason I've got these split onto different channels is that I might have different levels. Yeah, so I've got this lower mic, the mono mic, at high on this channel than I do on this one. It's just getting a balance which was working in the mix. Having multiple mics gives you that option. And I've learnt that the hard way. Here we go. Lovely, so there we go. So I got to get there. You got the vocal and it's all stuttering and doing stuff. What's happening here? Let's have a look. I cannot bear to see you leave me. I'm begging you, don't go. I cannot bear to say. So I've bounced this bit here in place and I've just added a fade file. All pretty normal. Then we're into the drop. Now, so I couldn't get away from that original riff, but I knew I wanted to do a big sustain thing. I mean, I was hoping it was going to be a bit more balls in there. Do we have any sub in there? No, I don't. Let me just see what this is. Oh, right, synthesizer. At that time, I had a Behringer Model D, which is the Moog clone. I'm using that because in the original song, which I hadn't realised until I started remixing it, they've got a synthesizer layered in there with it. What do? Do that. Press solo. Press this. There's a low note under the main synth. They've layered in a synth in that, so it sounded really good. So I did exactly the same thing. I thought, excuse me, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So now we have this. And I've just obviously got that with a loop point somewhere. Let's have a look at that. It ain't pretty, but it's working. There we go. So that's that. So we have that, and then what happens? We can just repeat that. Now I did change that slightly. I flattened the end of the riff. I cannot bear to see you leave me. I cannot bear to see you leave me. I cannot bear to see you leave me. I'm begging you, don't go. Now I'm listening to that snare, sounds a little bit dull. I probably would have mixed that differently. What's actually happening here? Looks like I've got a sub coming in. Yeah, lovely. That's just Alchemy. What's Virtual Mixer doing? Anything? Oh yeah, using this. This is my bass enhancement strip. Just adding, everything's adding a little bit of bass. Let me turn that off actually. I wonder what happens. So there's a little bit more of the lower mid ranges coming in when that comes in. These are all sort of enhancement devices used to use get bass on. A little bit of compression. Oh, what's I guess that track space is sidechain ducking the kick. There you go. All right, so great. So we've got that big old fat layer of all those sounds together. Nice. Oops. Let's have a little look at what I'm doing with the drums. I'm trying to do this quickly. Let's just hear the drums, what's going on if I do this. Now I remember going back to the original break, because it's so crusty what they had. I went back to the original breakbeat, which I think is this. A little bit of gain, a little bit of it, and no EQ. Wow. I might have EQ'd that, then bounced it in place. And here with a picture of the Incredible Hulk is breakbeat bit smashed. So I'll just turn it at minus 12.2. I use that Empirical Labs for that. It's really ridiculous. Like, just don't be polite about it. Smash it. Like, not much release, not much attack at all. And then you mix that, obviously, to taste with the original sound to get two sounds. I'll mute this one out. There we go. That's called parallel compression, if you didn't know. I'll put that back up. So that's that. That's your main break. What's under? What's up here? Snare attack. So you can hear it's just the attack portion of the snare. I probably got smack attack on there because that's a great plugin. Zero release, little bit of click. If I turn this off, we can get more sustain. It's just a transient shaper. So I want a click, and then I've got another one which is the sustain. Oh wow! I used Logic's enveloper. So you've got zero attack. It's obviously trying to add a little bit of sustain with a click. I'm a bit anal, so I've tried to like control the attack and the additional sustain with separate tracks. You put those four together. Take those two out. Yeah, it works, doesn't it? It works quite nice. And what else we got? Eamon, you love it, we all love it. It's just an I think, in fact, now listen to that, it's far too much mid-range. And I've done the smash thing on that as well. That sounds hench. What was that, about there? I can't remember. So you got all those. So you got Eamon in there, which has got too much mid-range. Break Messy. Not much, obviously just adding a little bit of air to the snare. That could do with so much more top end. Wow, it must have been stir crazy. Anyway, what's next? Luckily, I had a decent master. It's mastered by John Doe. Some sort of break messy kick. Oh, right, so that's the kick that goes with that. I do that a lot. I separate the kick, snare, and have that in my breaks as 3 different layers. I do that a lot, actually. I like to have that sort of control. Obviously, that means you can high pass this part, which I've done. You don't want to high pass the kick, so that's really handy. What's next? Break messy. That's lovely. I don't know where that's from. Wow, I haven't gone very crazy with taking out the low end. That's about it. Not done much with the EQ. So those lot together. Mute that out, actually. I'm not sure what it's doing. Adding a little bit of air in the stereo field. And we've got some fat ass kick in there. What's this? Oh, this is Logic. This is Logic preset. I do go to Logic for preset percussion quite a lot. And what's this one doing? Oh, it's the kick high passed. So this is a sidechain EQ. So those 2 kicks together. If I choose that channel, I can show you more. Mute that. You know what I'm saying? Just gives you that extra bit of kick that's going to cut through. But now I'm hearing it, I think I could have mixed that a lot better. So there you go, the beat. It's not much in there, but what I've done is had a ridiculous amount of control over what is happening. So let's go back to our arrangement ideas. So it drops to the synth and the bass, which it did here. So I've just copied that. And to be fair, if you know this tune, that's exactly what you want from what happens there. All right, what's next? And then it's just a repeat of the Chicago house. So I did a bridge. So as you remember from this arrangement, it's swapping between the vocal and the synth. The synth and the piano, the vocal, and then the synth and then the vocal. It's swapping around doing that. So I'm doing the same. I've just changed how it happens. Lovely, lovely. What's this? Now I did do something nice here. I added this arpeggio, which I also did on the Behringer Model D. Nice. Nice, I like that. So there we go. Drop to the synth, bring in the piano, change the piano, then bring in the vocal, and then we went down to this bit here. And then there's a new bit of vocal comes in, just to simplify the bridge before the synth. So we're all rolling along real fast. The piano breaks down a little bit. I just think I could have done better with the bass. Nice. And then just back a repeat of this section here. Lovely. I mean, what you want to hear, really. You want to hear that running, and then the piano keeps coming in with it, which I believe they did on their arrangement. Lovely, isn't it? The old Mel and Kim trick, or that old stuttered sample thing. I love that. Playing stuttered samples is one of the best things. Very nice. But the whole point of a bridge like that is because all you can do is keep dropping to that synth line with the piano. That's all you can really do, because that's the best bit. And the whole thing about music, what I like about music is the catchy bit repeating. They use it in pop all the time, just as much as you can get the chorus into the song as many times as possible in like less than 3 minutes, and you're on a winner. And so what we're doing here is trying to keep it interesting prior to just doing what we've done already, repeating what we've done already. And that goes, repeat that with a kick drum, can't go wrong with a 4/4 kick. And then just a standard variation on the original riff. That's quite a classic sort of techno old school riff. Stuff the vocal drops out and the vocal comes in. Kick drum builds up.
I cannot bear to see you leave me. I'm begging you, don't go.
Oh, this is a different mix. Fantastic. Oh, a little bit of a VIP. Obviously the original mix. Oh, this one's called Don't Go End in One. I've made a mistake. I've Doesn't matter. So you just cut and paste that one in. So there we go. I was going to do that, which I don't think sounds too bad. But really, what I wanted to hear was that first bit. That first bit happen again. The synth and the piano is what you want to hear, isn't it? Which is this bit. Yeah, so there we go. That's it. Wow. Hopefully I finished. I know that I ramble. I will shut up. So this is part of. Hang on. For a mere flick of the wrist. This Dope Ammo vinyl thing, and it's mate, this has got the tunes on here are massive. So many good tunes and so many good people. I've got this. There's about the actual digital's got about just shy of 50 tunes on it, and a lot of them are amazing. And there's some pretty decent people on there, pretty decent, like the creme de la creme, really. There we go. Oh, Nicky, there he goes. So I think I've probably finished. Toodles.